Welcome to your most authoritative hour. The Pulse is coming to you live from our Kokomlemle studios in Accra on GoTV channel 144, DSTV channel 421, and on your digital terrestrial TV because we are free to air. Coming up, Ashanti region records 58 COVID-19 deaths, almost half of Ghana's death toll of 129 as at July 9. This afternoon, we will interrogate the situation as a delegation of health officials begin the investigation into the situation in other parts of the country. Also this afternoon, Speaker rules out any possibility of Parliament shutting down over COVID-19, arguing such a move will grind the entire country to a halt. And the Electoral Commission to rely on a yet-to-mature CI in Parliament to allow vote transfer of senior high school students.
We are going to use our mobile teams to register the students who, because of the restrictions on the campus, they cannot leave the campus to go to the nearest polling center.
My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Remember, we're also streaming live on our Facebook and YouTube platforms. Please stay tuned in. The Pulse. Many thanks for your time. Let's start off with our current COVID-19 case count. Over 1,400 new cases have been recorded in the last two updates from the Ghana Health Service. Ghana's COVID-19 case count has risen to 23,463 after 641 new infections. These new cases were recorded in 52 districts across 8 regions. The number of discharged persons after treatment has also gone up to 18,622, with 4,717 active cases remaining. In Kumasi, a delegation of health officials led by Director General of Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumar-Boaje, is in the region capital to investigate why more COVID patients in the region are succumbing as against the situation in other parts of the country. The region accounts for 58 deaths, almost half of Ghana's death toll for COVID-19, which stands at 129 as of July 9, 2020. Regional Health Director Dr. Emmanuel Tinkran describes the fatality as highly unacceptable as he calls for concerted efforts to bring it down. This afternoon, that investigation is underway. We'll go live there now for details. First, though, Ohementeria of our health desk has this report.
Ashanti region has seen COVID-19 deaths jump from 5 from May 10, 2020 to 58 as at yesterday, July 9, 2020. Confirmed COVID-19 cases leaped from 453 to 4,972 with 3,641 recoveries over the same period. Out of 42 districts with confirmed cases, Kumasi Metropolis tops the death toll with 33. Obuasi Municipality and Obuasi East District follow with 4 each. Efijakwabre South and Kwadaso have 3 apiece, with Otafo 2. 9 other districts have each lost 1 person. Health authorities say they are analyzing the worrying trend as there's evidence of many patients being brought in either dead or die less than 24 hours on admission. Dr. Emmanuel Tinkran is the Ashanti Regional Health Director.
I'm very much concerned. Sincerely, that has been my work. And every day we are working, we are analyzing records, because you realize that most of them come and die within 24 hours. Some of them even are brought in dead. And you do the verbal autopsy and say, oh, this may be COVID. So these are some of the challenges. So it means that most probably the awareness is not high, or the denial is still very high. And that's the reason why people are just ignoring the protocols and then the guidelines. The mortalities may be due to the fact that people are reporting late, or people are living in denial, or we are dealing with a difficult strain, or we are not managing the cases as expected. All these are factors. We are trying to analyze the data and then classify the deaths properly to see how they come in, how they die, the signs and symptoms, whether it's COVID death or COVID-related death. All these are something that I think we need to start researching into to find out why the mortality in the Ashanti region is quite high compared to all other regions in this country.
Despite ongoing public education, many residents in the region doubt the existence of the coronavirus. People continue to flout safety protocols such as social distancing, wearing of face masks and hand washing with impunity. The likely consequence is that a few will report COVID-19 related symptoms at health facilities. Dr. Tinkran attributes the cause of the trend to several factors, but he singles out public apathy to the virus.
It seems that people are not serious about it. And so even when they are sick, they just won't come to the hospital. They stay till they are just about to die. So in fact, we need a lot of, not only the health system, but we need a concerted effort by all the stakeholders, everybody, so as to maybe embark on continuous education for the people in my region to realize that we have a challenge. We shouldn't just sit down thinking that nothing is happening. And sometimes I go around, I interview people, and they think that there's nothing. You are just scaring us. You're scaring us. There's nothing. You say there's a problem, but we don't see any problem. It's because they are not in our hospitals, and sometimes what they tell us is so hurting.
From Kumasi, for Joy News, Oyemi reporting.
We're trying to get my colleague Ohime Nteria, who will join us with some details about this ongoing investigation to tell why there's a high mortality rate in the Ashanti region. Health experts are currently investigating the matter, led by Ghana Health Service Director Dr. Abuaje, and to tell us why the region is recording those deaths. Ohime Nteria, if you can hear me, what more can you say about this? We'll try and get Ohime Nteria on this bit, but on the 16th of June, the Ghana Medical Association warned Ashanti region COVID-19 mortalities could increase if the government does not set up a dedicated facility to receive COVID-19 positive patients. Regional President of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Parkwesi Beidou, revealed Komfanochi Teaching Hospital is now receiving COVID-19 positive patients on the wards, a situation he says is increasing the risk of infections. He also hinted more doctors at the hospital are getting infected due to lack of personal protective equipment. We'll bring you a playback of that story by Erastus Sasaridonko.
The situation here is dire at the moment, and the Accident and Emergency Center, which you see behind me, is the source of referral for many hospitals across the region and even beyond. So we have emergency cases coming here all the time.
The situation is really bad. If you look at the statistics from the Ghana Health Service, you realize most of the deaths are from here. And if you get to our hospital, you realize if you pass through the accident and emergency unit, you realize that they are expanding the holding area. Now, you go, previously we used to have the holding area, and then those who come back confirmed are subsequently transferred to the HIU, as we call it, at the other side of the hospital. But now there is a spillover. You get it, patients who have tested positive are being kept at the main hospital, at the emergency on the wards, and that is the situation. In addition, you realize that aside the system being under so much pressure, we have most of our colleagues getting infected. And I'm saying this because we of the Ghana Medical Association are collating the data on number of doctors who have gotten infected in the line of duty. And so we know the actual numbers. And I am saying this on authority that so many of our patients, of our colleagues, not doctors alone, but nurses and other staff are getting the infection.
Put a figure to it. How many are we talking about?
Yeah, on the last count, as I said, we're still gathering the data. On the national level, we have close to 80 doctors. We're collating the number of doctors who have it. I'm sure in the course of the week or next week, we'll get you the actual analysis of the doctors. But here, per my last count, it will be close to 15-20 of our colleagues in this hospital. And as I said, we're collating the data on them, and that's how come I know the actual numbers.
The spillover of patients. How do you mean when you say that?
You know, previously for every institution, we have holding areas and then we have the treatment. When you come to Komfo-Anokye, we used to have a holding area, which is a place they designated under the disaster building. I'm sure if you pass there, you see it. And then once your results comes and you are moved to Poly, we have the highly infectious units where they treat. You have everything set up. But then the holding areas are full. And as we're talking now, we have patients who are kept at the accident and emergency unit. These are actual patients who have confirmed, the test confirms COVID. So you go to the accident and emergency unit. That's the situation now. And
what is the danger in that?
You know, I don't want to overemphasize this, but you realize that we know the mode of transmission, and we know because it's highly. That's why we have isolation centers. But then if you are keeping those who have already tested positive in a ward containing other patients who have other conditions, one, there's the risk of transmission, because you see, all the staff entering, right, if the positive patient is confirmed positive and they are moved there, whoever is entering that unit should be fully protected. But as we have it now, you have designated places where we are keeping them. But then everybody there should be in the full PPE. But that's not what is happening. We have visiting times where you enter and you realize people are coming to visit their relatives. They enter the place, they don't have the full protective gear. Doctors, nurses, pharmacists, orderlies enter the place. They are not in full protective gear. So the risk of transmission from those infected with the COVID to the staff is high. And I'm not surprised. As I said,
my colleague Ohime Teria now joins us with some details about the deaths in the Ashanti region. Ohime, what is the current situation and what's being done now by the authorities to bring the situation under control?
Thank you, Aisha. According to the Regional Health Directorate, 58 COVID-19 related deaths have been recorded in the region. 58 COVID-19 related deaths have been recorded in the region. If you look at the distribution, you realize that the Kumasi metropolis alone is contributing 33 of the deaths as far as COVID-19 is concerned. And out of the 33 districts like Obuasi Municipality and Obuasi East, they have recorded 4 each, with the Fijiapa South and Fada so also recording 3 each. We have Otafo with 2, and 9 other districts have also recorded each death. And so that is the situation as we speak in the Ashanti region.
Tell us about the visit of the Director General of the Ghana Health Service. What have they gathered so far?
Unfortunately, I am not privy to the visit of the Director General of the Ghana Health Service. But what I do know is that today a stakeholder consultative meeting was held where stakeholders in the region were invited, police, those in the security agencies, including police, were invited. The Muslim community as well as the Christian communities were all invited to come and assist the Regional Health Directorate, share ideas on how best the COVID-19 figures in the Ashanti region could be controlled. As we speak, as of today, the Ashanti region has recorded 5,150 COVID-19 positive cases, 5,150 COVID-19 positive cases and 58 deaths. Recovery stands at 4,138. And then active case as of now is 954. As at the time we had a meeting, the stakeholders, especially the clergy, were not happy that over the period they have been neglected as far as the COVID-19 fight is concerned. So now the plan is that all the stakeholders will come together to support the efforts of the Ghana Health Service to reach out to the Ashanti region, especially where there's this belief that people are still living in doubt of the existence of COVID-19. That has been the challenge of the Regional Health Directorate as far as public education is concerned in the Ashanti region. There are instances, especially when I spoke to Dr. Tinkran, he mentioned that you go to some point, you speak to people as to why they are not in their face mask, and you want to encourage them to put on the face mask. And the indication or the message you get from them is that there's no problem. You are trying, as a health expert, to create a problem for people. So this, he says, are some of the disheartening moments for public health experts in the region. But that notwithstanding, he says they want to move forward to reach out to more people to propagate the message of COVID-19, saying that COVID-19 is real. So it's time for people to adhere to all the safety protocols of social distancing, and then wearing of face mask, and also ensuring that you wash your hands at all times. As part of the measures, they are introducing a lot of measures, I must say. One of it is to ensure that the Regional Health Directorate will lead a crusade to distribute as much as 15 million face masks to the residents. We estimate the Ashanti region of population of about 5 million. So, the Regional Health Directorate is targeting 3 face masks to each resident. So they are targeting 15 million face masks to be distributed to residents of Ashanti region. They told me, yes, they've received the blessing of the Asantehene, the overlord of the Ashanti Kingdom, and they believe that with his support, they will be able to reach out to organizations and individuals to support the crusade against COVID-19. He says if there's any moment, any time to reach out to people as far as COVID-19 is concerned, then the time is now. And this is a part of the measures that the Regional Health Directorate is instituting to reach out to people. Now, at the stakeholder consultative meeting, the widely acceptance is that all of them are going to work in tandem. The non-governmental organizations promise their support. Police also promise their support. Just that police expressed the fact that when they started, the RESEC started introducing this custodial sentence of allowing people to clean the streets when you are not, for instance, in your face mask. The human rights campaigners started, lambasting police left, right, center. And this is something they say demoralized them. But if you look at the EI 164, the measure that the government has introduced, the fact that anybody who goes contrary to the executive instrument, it means that either you pay between 12,000 Ghana cedis and 60,000 Ghana cedis. This is something that they believe is too outrageous. So if something can be done about this particular law, then it will go a long way to also compel people to accept and also adhere to the safety protocols as being announced by the Ghana Health Service.
Ohiming, but generally, what can you report of the people's general respect for the safety protocols as far as COVID-19 is concerned?
It's a major concern not only for the health experts or the health directorates. Some of us, when you walk in town and you see how people are flouting these safety protocols, especially at the market centers, there's a particular spot called Roman Hill area. When you go there, you see a lot of traders, crowded in particular area, majority of them not in face mask. And that is a concern to everybody in the region. But the unfortunate thing is that when you speak to some of these people, the impression they try to create is that you are the ones, trying to put some fear of God in them. For them, they have no idea of COVID-19. Indeed, if COVID-19 do exist, how come they are not seeing people, dying on the streets as compared to what happened in somewhere in China? And so that has been the mindset of the people. A lot of people, though there has been this campaign that people should put on their face masks, many of them are not in face masks. And then let me also touch on the healthcare workers, the case scenario for healthcare workers. In the Ashanti region, as at now, the Regional Health Directorate, as at today, has recorded 230 COVID-19 positive cases among the health workers. And out of the 230, one death has been recorded with 219 recoveries. So as of now, the active cases stands at 11.
Ohementeria is with our health desk, and he's been giving us some updates on the Ashanti region, which is recording more deaths, almost half of what the nation has. Back here in Accra and straight to Parliament, where Speaker Professor Aaron Michael Quay has ruled out any possibility of the legislature shutting down as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Many institutions, including Finance Ministry, Cocoa Board, have had to halt operations as a result of staff testing positive for COVID-19. Now, Parliament recorded its first case months ago, prompting some MPs and health experts to call for a shutdown. However, speaking on the floor, Professor Okoye directed for another disinfection of the chamber to be carried out next week. He explains the Finance Minister is expected in the House for presentation of the mid-year budget review. So if Parliament should close, the country will grind to a halt.
The chamber was fumigated fully, and this will be done again, done on Monday, for the House to sit. So that is going on at the moment for our safety and security. One thing is that the experts continue to tell us that this matter is also a matter of movement. I have been advised that a few people have broken the instruction by way of auxiliary staff who insist on coming. One person actually said that his honorable member told him to come. Honorable members, this is the last warning. If any person engaged on a temporary basis by way of research assistant and all those people who have been asked to stay at home and work electronically is seen within the parameters of Parliament, that person will be disciplined immediately. When that happens, nobody should come and plead for anyone. It will be breaking the rule. And let us also remember that, honorable members, if you see any stranger on your floor and you accommodate and tolerate that kind of thing, you are helping the spread of the virus. So please, let's keep human traffic clean and do all we can as much as possible. We all know one thing. Parliament is not like many other places that you can simply and easily say we have suspended or closed down. Very soon, the Honourable Minister for Finance is going to read the supplementary budget. If Parliament doesn't sit, the country will shut down. There will be no money. It's as simple as that. So as for Parliament, please, let us know. We are in a very, very peculiar situation. In fact, government departments can operate in case of emergency separately and individually. Parliament is Parliament. So let us also be very careful about how we manage protocols and matters concerning us. In fact, it looks like it may have to be the last stop. That is Parliament. Otherwise, there is no country. So we are in a very, very critical situation, and we will accept it as such and operate as such in call of duty to nation. So please let us cooperate and make sure that anyone who does not have any business, priority business in Parliament, is sent away, reported to the Marshal Office, and the security will deal with that person. We are going to be very, very rigid because we have a duty to perform. I thank you very much. Honorable Majority Chief Whip, any final comment?
Let's still talk about COVID because 4 more persons who died of coronavirus have been buried under strict supervision at the COVID-19 burial site at Awudome Cemetery. Coordinator and supervisor of the burials in the Greater Accra region, Joseph Abugiri Asitanga, tells JoyNews persons who die of coronavirus do not have the luxury of tombstones as the bodies are buried in unmarked graves. He warns more deaths are likely to happen if Ghanaians continue to deny the existence of the virus. Mark Solabagba had exclusive access to the COVID-19 burial site and now reports.
Final burial rites and funerals play a huge role in bringing closure, especially to persons who have lost their loved ones. But have you ever imagined what it is like to lose a family member or a friend without being able to see their face for the last time after their bodies leave the morgue? Well, that is what most family members of persons who died of COVID-19 experience. The siren of the hearse carrying 4 people who died of coronavirus to the Awudome Cemetery. Environmental officers fully dressed in their protective clothing are sitting in the bucket of one of the pickups. In there is a bucket full of the chlorine they used in disinfecting the remains at the morgue. In the convoy too are family members of the dead who do not want to be identified. This is because of stigma.
And this is the burial site for COVID-19, and when you come here, you see this big signage here, burial site for COVID-19. And this is the point where we go to the burial site. I see writing, I don't know if you heard Mr. Sitanga, he's telling me that we shouldn't capture any of the family members. And of course, you know, the stigmatization, the stigma that comes with COVID-19. We've been trying to fight this, but it looks the case that a lot of people are still stigmatizing others with COVID-19. I don't know whether to call it stigma or precaution. From my experience, just when we're coming here, we went to the morgue where the bodies were collected, the remains were collected, and there I was very thirsty, so I tried to go and get water from one of the shops very close, one of the convenience stores very close to the morgue. The moment the lady who was selling the water saw me in this PPE, she told me not to get close to her. She told me not to come closer and that she doesn't have water, she can't sell water to me. But then I was in this full PPE. I mean, you can say it is precaution, but there's some element of stigma also in there.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay.
That was last week.
Here at this burial site, I've met the man who disinfects the bodies before they are taken from the morgue. He has disinfected more than 40 bodies. For fear of being stigmatized, he only agreed to speak to me on condition of anonymity.
For now, I don't have the total number here, but we've done over 40. For now, I don't have the total body now. So the disinfection procedure is one of the key elements that we do in a way of we, the team members, we are also protecting the burial team. So this is a technical thing that we do to protect each and every one that have a direct contact with the coffin from the morgue up to the cemetery. That is the environmental health officers, that's our duty. So for us, the infectious body, we've been doing it for some time. You understand? So this is the COVID body, but this is a procedure that we use for any infectious body. So for the disinfection, that's the standard that we used to do. Every surfaces, the peripheral surfaces that we touch, we have to disinfect every surface. So from the coffin, every handle that we touch from there, we have to disinfect it to protect the team, the disinfection team that will protect those that they are doing the burial, that none of us will get into contact with the COVID-19 virus.
One prominent feature of all cemeteries are tombstones with names of the dead beautifully engraved on them as a way of showing final respect. But family members of COVID-19 victims cannot do that for their loved ones. They are buried in unmarked graves coordinator and supervisor of the COVID-19 burials, Joseph Asitanga, has been explaining to me why they are stripped of that privilege.
We don't allow block work on the COVID bodies,
why is that?
infectious bodies.
Okay.
Yes, why is that when we put block work and cement the grave, it retards easy decomposition of the body.
Okay.
And the possibility of collection and evaporation of whatever organism that is there to also come to cause more sickness. So when we bury them on the earth ground, earth burial. One thing is that we are adopting something now. All the graves here, for the purpose of stigmatization, we did not allow labeling and naming of the graves.
Okay.
Yes, because when you get stand here, you see the COVID site for COVID burial. So when we come to put somebody name here, so and so, on the grave here, it remains forever. Possibly in the grandchildren who are likely to come up. One day may be stigmatized that, oh, our father died out of this particular disease that hacked the country some time ago. And that can even go down by stigmatizing and making people to even get scared with that particular family. We try as much as best as possible to prevent labeling and naming the graves. Such that after the burial, if you want to come here, you still need to seek permission from the MPH, the Metro Public Health Department. Okay. And we don't even allow you to come here because once you've come to identify the grave and this is where they laid your family member to rest, that ends it. Okay. The gate is under key and locked. You cannot have access here.
So if you want access, you need permission from you?
Access is not even permitted to any family member to come and inspect anything here.
So how do the family members, if they want, some kind of coping mechanisms, just want to walk towards the grave, how do they identify the graves where their relatives were buried?
It is a protection to the family that government, for that matter, where the burial team of the various district assemblies is protecting the family. So infectious site, no VOC, no block work. We do earth burials. Okay. Yes.
Okay, great. And said last week you buried how many bodies?
As an indicator, we buried 47.
Okay.
It's almost 48. We have not yet buried the last one.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So last week you buried about 6 here. Yes. You told me. So this is one of the sites. Yes. It has not been covered?
Yeah. These are fresh graves waiting for burial.
Okay.
All these are.
Okay. So all these are fresh graves waiting for burial.
Waiting for burials.
Okay.
So when you look after the fresh graves, all these are burials. Ahead, all that is burials. And this is the Christian site, solely for a Christian. Okay. So from here we go to the Muslim site where we did the other burials. Okay. Yes. Okay.
Aside from the harsh reality of environmental health officers taking custody of the body and the denial of a typical Ghanaian burial rites, family members are not allowed to see the body when it leaves the morgue under the strict supervision of health authorities. Joseph Asitanga warns of more deaths if Ghanaians continue to deny the existence of the virus.
COVID-19 has come to stay with us, and it is there. It's real. The whole thing is that most of the times we observe the cultural and traditional norms of the various tribes that we come into encounter with. Or else we would have been doing the bare laying of the people from the morgue to the cemetery site for the whole world to see that this disease is real. The perception that the disease is not there, it is not true. Every day, before you are declared as a COVID-19 victim, the doctors will not benefit or take any profit for lying to you that you died out of COVID-19 when it's not COVID-19 that caused your death. So the public should be aware that every day the COVID-19 is killing people. Every day COVID-19, people are dying through COVID-19. And COVID-19 is living with us from where we live to where we do our business, wherever we are moving in our vehicles, whatever business activity, whatever daily activities we do, COVID-19 is moving with us. And therefore, it's better we still continue to understand that the disease is there. And therefore, whatever preventive and protocol measures that are prescribed by WHO, everybody should comply and go by it for us to help reduce the number of deaths that are coming. because more deaths is likely to occur when we continue to perceive that the disease is not there.
The coronavirus pandemic has created an unprecedented challenge to the world and also presented real tests for healthcare systems in small and big nations. Ironically, though, the pandemic is also bringing out the ingenuity and resourcefulness and individuals and creative minds in Ghana are no exception. A team of health workers at the dental unit of the Greater Accra Hospital are the latest to come up with an appropriate technology designed to cut back on the risk of getting exposed and infected with coronavirus by inhaling aerosol of clients who undergo cleaning and filling. Latif Idris has been speaking with the lead inventor in the following report.
Necessity, they say, is the mother of inventions, and the COVID-19 pandemic continues to bring out the best in the Ghanaian. Latest is what has taken place here at the Rich Hospital, specifically the dental unit, where a team of health professionals have successfully come up with an appropriate technology, this time aerosol absorber. So the aerosol goes into open space. We are seeing right now.
Yeah. You see, we are doing some small filling for this gentleman, and the filling procedures in dentistry generates a lot of aerosol. So once we start using the dental handpiece, you see this whitish aerosol, whitish foggy like material being sucked by the extractor. So this previously, this would just be coming out of the patient's mouth and accumulating in the surgical environment or the surgery, risking everyone else who is not in a face mask in the surgical environment. So therefore, as a unit, we decided to see how best we can get rid of the aerosol that is being generated in the surgical environment. That is why we came up with this aerosol extractor that sucks the aerosol that is being generated with the dental procedures that we do in the surgery. This, we hope, will help the dental or give that psychological support to the dental fraternity to get gradually back into work.
So I want you to tell us, this aerosol coming out, which is being absorbed, where does it go from here?
It passes through this tubing, this flexible tubing, then exits on the facial board into the open space, which is in the roof of the dental unit.
So the aerosol goes into open space?
Yes.
What through the roof?
Yes, through the ceiling.
Of the roof? Yeah, where there's the motor and the
yeah.
Then it goes outside. Where is the motor?
Inside the ceiling, between the roof and the ceiling, there's a motor that will place in between, and so the motor is activated, then starts working and sucks the aerosol that is being generated from the mouth. Mind you, this patient that comes in here are triaged, but just for extra safety, that is why we decided that once they are tried and we assume they are all COVID negative, we still want to be very, very, very sure that we don't accumulate any form of aerosol in the surgical environment, so that we don't risk both patients and anyone that comes into the dental unit with the probability that, okay, the whole aerosol concentrated in the surgical environment, and so the person came touched, because once aerosol accumulates, it can settle, then you go touching it and touching your face. That, we are told, leads to the transmission and spreading of the COVID. And so the best thing is to suck it out so that we don't contaminate the whole surgical environment.
Okay, so Dr. Kaba is here. I just want to I'll come back to you more quickly. You can continue with the procedure.
Oh, okay.
So this appropriate technology, Dr. Kaba, is helping this particular facility or this unit to cut back significantly on the risk associated with the catching of the COVID-19. How about when the aerosol makes it out of here to the open space, the risk out there? How are we supposed to deal with that at that level?
All right, so here's the point. We've been debating on this for months. When we started with this, we thought that it would be inappropriate for us to stop all the services because of fear and panic. So we started with the Uber that had been shown before. Then we moved to this. Then there is a machine right in the ceiling. That machine has a filter, which is equivalent to the face mask you are using. So when it goes in, or when you heard of the ventilators, they also have a filter that allows the gases that the patient breathes out to be well filtered in case it has any virus or anything. So it's that filter that helps to filter out whatever goes, and again, it's in the roof. Before then, it goes out. So the filter makes sure that everything is well filtered. But well, let me say this. This is just our initial stage. There is room for improvement. All we've made sure is to start and make sure that it doesn't become something that will contaminate, because the whole idea here is to avoid infection of the health workers and any other person. And that is why we chose that plan.
And on your election headquarters, the Joy Ballot Box train makes its first stop at Hohoe in the Volta region. At 5 p.m. today, live on your election headquarters on Joy 99.7 FM, on the Joy News channel, and on myjoyonline.com, electorates and their political representatives will gather on the same platform to discuss issues of concern to them as they prepare to cast their ballot on December 7. But why Hohoe? Joy News' Fred Kwame Asari tells us more in the following report.
Hohoe municipality is one of the 18 administrative districts and municipalities of the Volta region of Ghana. It is also among key lively commercial towns with lots of key state institutions in the region, among which is the Bank of Ghana office. It was carved out of the Kpando district between 1978 and 79 and was later upgraded to municipal status in 2005. According to the 2010 population, the municipality, which covers a land area of 1,172 kilometers square, had a population of 167,016. The city population.de projected the municipality's population to hit 210,769 in 2020. The area has since time immemorial played an integral part in Ghana's politics. Being a stronghold of the United Party tradition in the post-independence era, it metamorphosed to a National Democratic Congress, NDC stronghold.
You know, before the Fourth Republic, the whole Hohoe, as we know historically, is UP tradition driven, which for now emanates into the MPP government. So the whole of Hohoe areas were Dankwa, Buzia, Dombo tradition until the era of NDC, the PNDC, where Jerry John Rawlings came in, and being the son of the soil of Volta, he has driven so much of the people. I could even say about 90% of the tradition has changed to support the NDC.
The NDC has since been dominant in the constituency. Parliamentary candidates on the NDC's ticket had a field day in the last 7 general elections.
We have been NDC throughout this region because this is the stronghold of the NDC, we all know and we accept. So from 1992 to date, we have the NDC parliamentarians throughout. We have Madam Honorable A.C. Pomare. Then there came Honorable Nat Adwajo. Then came Jacob Haibor. After Jacob Haibor, then we have Honorable Madam Adiku Helu. So all these parliamentarians were NDC.
That notwithstanding, the Energy Minister, John Peter Amewu, is seeking to turn the tables and make history come December 7, 2020. He is contesting the parliamentary elections on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party against the NDC's Dr. Margaret Kweku. The abnormal times within which the country finds itself as a result of COVID-19 makes the Hohoe municipality the perfect first point of call for the ballot box train. It is one of the few towns which first recorded COVID-19 in the Volta region, but has managed to contain the spread. As the Joy ballot box train makes its first stop at Hohoe, a key issue which will not elude the electorates as they prepare to engage their political actors is the state of access roads in the municipality.
Cars the spoil, they are shocked. Our things plenty the spoil for the car body. So I beg the government seriously. I'm government, I'm MPP man, so I'm here at the beg. We can't do something small for the road before the election time to happen. So the car is spoiled, that one. If you feel this road, if you don't put quota safe, you go get vote for it. So if you don't do something for the road there, you go worry. You go get vote, so the vote no go up.
Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Hohoe.
Now look at the ongoing voter registration exercise across the country. We begin from the eastern regions. Maxwell Kudeko is in the eastern region for us. Maxwell, if you can hear me, what do you have? Hello, Maxwell, you are on the polls, and I'm asking, what can you report from where you are? Let's move on to the Oti region because we are having difficulty in hearing Maxwell. We'll try and bring him back. But in the Oti region, registration stalled for about an hour when officials and agents of the NDC objected to the registration of some 8 persons believed not to be residents in that community. The chaos started when the General Secretary of the party, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, and the regional chairman, John Kwejo Japon, visited some registration centers in the Akan constituency on Friday. Alhaji Yusuf is the Akan constituency chairman for the NDC.
Last week, during the first phase, some people are in the queue trying to register, but the immigration officers came and took them from the queue that they are not residents from the area, and then brought them to police station, detained them for 4 good days. We tried to bail these people. We asked them they should pick a challenge form per the EC regulation, pick the challenge form, and then challenge them. They says no, and detain them for 4 good days. We tried to bail these people. They says no, they will take them to court. The 4th day they were.
So is this a revenge? Because
it's a revenge. We see people that we also see here who are not residents. We called the assemblyman to come and testify. He said he doesn't know them from anywhere. Then we are also saying if they are not residents from here, they should go back to where they are coming from to go and register. It's very simple. This is what we know, and this is why even the chief in the town who is known about this thing, they have to go and pick the chief and come and detain him for 3 good days, and then later send him to the court. You see, so we are saying we don't want such thing to happen. If we don't know anybody from the area, then please, we want the person to go back to where he's coming from. That's all. Thank you.
The chaos has not been limited to one registration center. We have it all put together for you. Take a look.
I said it to you. Sankarabas wife. A lady came around. The lady did not register. We had to go and beg other people. We beg you. We beg you. We beg you. We beg you. So finally, the woman was registered. Let the impedance. They came and guaranteed that for the woman. Do you understand it? We had to go behind the scene. In seconds, the first place was still going to be I said it to you. Sankarabas wife. A lady came around. The lady did not register. We had to go and beg other people. We beg you. We beg you. We beg you. We beg you. So finally, the woman was registered. Let the impedance. They came and guaranteed that for the woman. Do you understand it? We had to go behind the scene. In seconds, the first place was still going to be we had to go and see the zonal chairman. We had to go and see the zonal chairman to beg the zonal chairman that we beg you, zonal chairman.
Peter Seno is our man in the Otri region. He joins me via Zoom. Peter, let's start with the chaos. What caused it and how was it resolved? Hello, Peter. If you can hear me, I'm talking about the chaos we've just watched. What caused it and how was it resolved?
Right. The chaos we just witnessed was at the Statu Community Center, registration center. And so when we got there, there was these people who were in the queue, and the NDC guys, according to them, the agents present them in the community, and they called some of the community folks to come and testify whether they know them or not. And they said they don't know them from Adam. And so according to them, once they don't know them and they do not to allow them to continue with the registration process. And so the argument, as we have watched, continued for a while, close to 30 or so minutes. And so the security, the police woman on duty had to call her superior to.
We lost Peter Seno there, but we understand the General Secretary of the NDC also was at the registration centers. Let's listen to what he said.
Good morning. You're welcome. Aru is here.
Today is the second or third day, or fourth day, fifth day. Also tomorrow you have let me have idea about the figures. I can give you daily figures. Okay, first day you have 70. Second day you have 38. Third day we have 51. Yesterday we have 64. You are the okay, what are the numbers?
Now let's go to the Bono East region where Anas Sabit has been monitoring events for us. Anas, what can you report from where you are?
Aisha, this morning we stepped off to check on the exercise which started today at the various senior high schools within the region. I've been monitoring the Techima North district today, and 2 out of 6 schools within the district started with the registration exercise today as planned by the Electoral Commission. The plan is to use 2 days for each school so that they'll be able to complete or do all the schools. I monitored the situation at the Akonfiamia Senior High School and then the Chibodom Senior High School. Both schools had their exercise starting at about 8:15, 8:30 a.m. today, respectively. And from our observation on the adherence to the protocols in all the schools we have visited, in fact, there is a provision of Veronica buckets with hand washing kits. The sanitizers are also in place. There are Ghana Health Service staff stationed at the entrances of both halls we have monitored, and they are to take temperatures of the students. With regards to social distancing, the situation was, in fact, that particular directive has been strictly observed by these students. And I'm not surprised because these are schools that have authorities who are ensuring that those directives are strictly being adhered to. In fact, we communicated with some of the students, and they see this as a very calculated, a well-calculated move, and they describe the situation as timely because they were initially feeling they might be disenfranchised, considering the fact that they are not being allowed to go back to their various constituencies to register. So they described this move as timely and applauded the Electoral Commission for taking this move to get them registered for us in school. This, according to them, will also save them the hassle in joining several queues like we are observing in other areas to register. They feel that would have also exposed them to COVID-19. So this has been the situation here in some parts of the Bono East region, Aisha.
Seeing some chaotic scenes in the OT region, what's the general comportment at the schools where you visited?
For the schools we visited, even though they have their teachers who are also helping in ensuring that the students or those in the queues adhere to these protocols, there are also security officials. I spotted police officials in all these schools to ensure there's sanity in the area. In fact, whilst at the Children's Senior High School, I also saw a patrol team of the Ghana Police Service who were there in their numbers to ensure that there's sanity in the school throughout the exercise. Let me also add that for the Bono East region, generally, from my observation from the first phase through to the second phase, the exercise has been largely peaceful without much disturbances as we are being.
Anas Sabit is our man from the Bono East region. Now to the Ashanti region, where Erastus Asaridonko has also been touring some schools in that area. He now joins me via Zoom for more. Erastus, tell us where you are and what we need to know about the ongoing registration exercise in schools. If you can unmute for me, I'm asking you to tell me what we need to know about the areas you've visited so far. We'll try and get Erastus back and also to pick what's going on in the Ashanti region where registration is going on. But the Electoral Commission says it will rely on a CI, which is yet to mature in Parliament, to allow students to transfer their votes from wherever they may be on election day. According to the Electoral Commission, processes for the transfer is expected to commence in October, minutes after news broke about the Commission's decision to register students at the various schools. A number of concerns were raised by some political parties and a section of the public. The concerns include a breach in the regulation governing the registration exercise, safety of the students, and the difficulty of transferring their votes. But addressing the second edition of Let the Citizens Know, Deputy EC Chair Dr. Bosman Asari says they will rely on gazetted registration centers to cue concerns of breaching the regulation.
The police are there to ensure orderliness, but we also expect the media to send a message out there to the parties that they have to conduct themselves very well, and that is very, very important. There was a question about the concerns of the parties. Is it Mr. Latif Idris?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. We need to understand that the parties that are registered with the Electoral Commission, they are about 28 even now. So when we have an IPAC meeting and two of the parties say, or they are not supportive of the decision of IPAC, I don't think it represents the general view of IPAC. We need to understand when we talk about consensus, consensus is different from unanimity. Consensus means you need some significant majority to support the action. When we do IPAC, we would wish that every party would say we are on board, but that is not the mandate of the Commission. The mandate of the Commission in this registration is to ensure that every Ghanaian who qualifies to register and vote is given the chance. And what the Commission is saying is that whatever is proper, whatever is necessary, we are going to do it so that everyone who qualifies. Recently, you heard people accusing us of disenfranchising. Since the process started, we are even trying to enfranchise more people. So if some people are saying that the Commission is doing A, B, C, and D, and when you look at the law, what the Commission said yesterday was that we are going to use our mobile teams to register the students who, because of the restrictions on the campus, they cannot leave the campus to go to the nearest polling center. So where registration centers are there, Mr. Tete mentioned, Aquinas, Laboni, we have registration centers, the students are registering. But where we don't have, because they cannot cross to the nearest, the Commission is going to use its mobile teams to register them, then we add them onto that one. So primarily when somebody says it's against the law, what is against the law when you are enfranchising people? And that's what basically the Commission is doing. And I think you also asked a question about the maturity of the CI. I think this is something in the domain of Parliament. Whatever the Commission has to do has been done. And in the parliamentary process, when you lay the document, it's supposed to be there for 21 days. And as far as I think it was laid last week, so that is not an issue which is in content. We know by the time the registration will be over, this document would have matured.
Deputy Chair in charge of operations, Samuel Tete, also revealed the Commission has put in place measures to address overcrowding at centers where there is disregard for the social distancing protocols.
The Accra Metropolis, the Tema, and Ashaman and its environs, where observing social distance is still a challenge to the Commission. However, there are several measures that we have actually put in place, and this, in a way, has gone a long way to address these challenges. In the first place, the Commission has intensified its public education on the need to adhere to the safety protocols, especially the social distance rule. And we have also asked our district electoral officers to educate the general public on various platforms on the need to observe the social distance rule. And we have all our officers who, on the radio and TV stations, FM stations, and all that, educating the general public on the strict adherence to the safety protocols as well as the social distance rule. In addition, the Commission has vehicles that we have mounted our PA systems, and DEOs are using the public address system to educate the public. They embark upon dawn broadcast, and this is also yielding fruitful results. The Commission has made provision for additional chairs for applicants to sit on at the registration centers. And at centers where we have overcrowding, the Commission has increased the number of chairs to 200 and above. An example of such place or centers is what we have in Odododiodio. It has been a center where we have so many people in the queue, and the commission has made available enough chairs for them to sit on to address this issue of social distance. The commission has also, in collaboration with the security agencies, made known this challenge of social distance challenge. And the security agencies, as a result of the collaboration, have intensified their efforts, and their efforts have also yielded positive results, and we are seeing improvements in the social distance rule.
And there's a fresh suit against the Electoral Commission for its decision to register final year students in various senior high schools. The NDC that issued the suit, the writ, is claiming that the Electoral Commission has no right. It's illegal, actually, for the Electoral Commission to conduct such exercise in areas that are not gazetted in the CI 91. Court correspondent Joseph Akable has been studying the writ and joins me via Zoom. Joseph Akable, share with us what exactly the NDC is demanding this time round.
And so, Aisha, this case was filed at exactly 2:30 this afternoon by the NDC, represented by David K. Ametefe. He's a private legal practitioner belonging to the law firm of Boahini Asari and Associates. They contend, one, that the registration that the EC intends to carry out on the campuses of the senior high school is illegal and wrongful. Their explanation is that such registration or registration at any center should be gazetted, and there should be a publication of the center. And once that has not been carried out, and their view is that per CI 91, it does not allow for the registration at those campuses that the EC intends to send the registration to. And so once that has not been carried out, then it means the registration is illegal and it's also wrongful. And so they therefore say that if the EC proceeds to carry out those registrations will be null and void. And so they ask the court to grant them that declaration that any registration that takes place on any campus that has not been gazetted is null and void. They also want an order directed at the Electoral Commission that if it goes ahead to carry out such registration, persons who will be registered on those campuses, their names will be excluded from the electoral roll to be used for the December 7, 2020 polls there. What is interesting is that the NDC is mindful of the fact that the registration will be taking place sometime soon, and so they are moving for an injunction, which they intend to move on July 20, asking at the High Court, specifically the general jurisdiction, to restrain the EC from even going ahead with the registration on the campus if it has not carried it out at that time, or if it is yet to carry it out at that point. They should be restrained until the termination of the matter from carrying out those registration. And so this is the first case that the NDC has filed in its quest to assert its rights relating to the electoral process, this time around against the EC's move to carry out the registration exercise on the campuses. Aisha.
Any response from the EC yet?
No response yet. This was filed just at 2:30 this afternoon, and so the expectation is that within the next 14 days, or at least before the July 20, where the date for the injunction is to be heard, the EC is supposed to enter an appearance and file a response if it is minded to do so. And so we can expect another legal battle from the NDC and the Electoral Commission once again. This will be the second time. The forum this time around is the High Court, not the Supreme Court like we saw some time ago. This time will be at the High Court, where the lawyers for the EC, we expect to slug it out to the lawyers for the NDC in a second showdown. This time around, not about the registration exercise proper, but about the decision to take the registration to the campuses of the universities, because the NDC contends CI 91, which is the law regulating the process, does not allow for such registration on campuses and unapproved centers once they've not been gazetted and published. So we look forward to see how this will go at the High Court, Aisha.
Court correspondent Joseph Akable with details of a fresh suit filed by the NDC against the Electoral Commission. Now, the Deputy Chief of Staff, Francis Asenso-Boakye, says he's confident the NPP will increase its political fortunes in the Ashanti region in the upcoming elections. The NPP parliamentary candidate for Bantama was speaking to Love News when he registered for his voters card and distributed face masks and sanitizers to several registration centers in the Bantama constituency in Kumasi. Erastus Asaridonko has more.
The Deputy Chief of Staff, who is also the NPP parliamentary candidate for Bantama, went through the registration process himself today. He also visited and distributed a number of face masks and sanitizers at selected registration centers within the Bantama constituency. At the House of Faith Center at Imrom, Francis Asenso-Boakye took time to address some students who had gathered to go through the registration process.
And I'm also going to be the MPP parliamentary candidate for Bantama.
He told Love News this year's election will be decided on the achievements of President Akufo-Addo and ex-President Mahama during their first terms in office.
What will be the deciding factor for this whole general elections, especially in the Ashanti region?
It's about the achievement of the MPP and the NDC, especially when the two leading candidates were the two leading candidates in the last election. It's basically going to be about the performance of our record in this administration and in the last administration. And as you know, any fair-minded person will know that the difference is clear. We have said time and again that President Mahama, as president, was not able to introduce any single policy that affected the lives of people. And when we came, President Akufo-Addo has introduced several policy programs that are affecting the daily lives of people. And I think that's what Ghanaians are going to use to cast their ballot come December 2020.
He also expressed optimism that the Ashanti region will increase the party's votes in this year's elections.
We are very hopeful, given the work we have done. We are very hopeful that we are going to do a lot better in the Ashanti region than before.
Any prediction you want to
No prediction yet, but I'm hopeful that we are now doing the registration. The campaign hasn't started, so this is not a time for prediction. We are still working. I believe that at the end of the day, when we get close to the election, we know where we are, and we can, if there's any need for prediction, we will. But we are confident of victory come 2020.
Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaridonko, Kumasi.
Erastus Asaridonko now joins me via Zoom and talking about the earlier story. Erastus has been touring some of the registration centers for the senior high school students. Erastus, tell us where you are and what we need to know about the ongoing registration in schools.
So we just returned from the SDA Adventist Senior High School. We've also been to Asantamai Senior High School, and earlier in the day we went to Kumasi Anglican Senior High School. I must say the students are very, very excited about the exercise. Many of them getting the card for the first time and also having the opportunity to vote. To the extent that some of them are able to even tell us on camera who they are going to vote for and even why they are taking the card. And in all these centers we went, we saw that the social distancing protocols were duly observed. The school heads have been able to design or place the registration center in such a way that students are wearing their mask all right, they are spaced all right, they wash their hands before they sit down to go through the registration process. But one thing that we observed at Asantamai Senior High School, for example,
we saw one student who had just finished the registration exercise, and she told us that she couldn't get guarantors to do it for her, and so she used the NHIS card. In fact, on camera, she told us she used the NHIS card, but when we confronted the returning officer, the EC officer, she denied that the girl used NHIS card. So that was the only observation we made. All the other students were using guarantors from their own colleagues. And so when they finished registering, they will guarantee for others to also go through the process.
And earlier we were told there was some confusion as to whether this should go on in our schools or not. And that's the reason why they say it's not safe. Some schools have recorded positive cases. So did that affect turnout?
No, I would say that this is a turnout that is already at the registration center, which is the school itself. And so they are doing it by class, class by class. When they mention the name of the particular class, you find the students coming in their numbers, take their seat, and then they go through the process. And so it's not like people are coming in from their homes. It's like they are already in the school, and the various heads are the ones who are coordinating and telling them that this class needs to come at this particular time. And then they make the announcement, the class will come and they go through the registration process. When they are done, another class will also come through and go through the process. So turnout was massive wherever we went across Kumasi.
So it was kind of compulsory.
Well, when you say compulsory, then it means that even if the students do not want to participate, they are forced to do so. But no, they are coming in voluntarily and they are excited about it. They tell you that they are so happy. They felt that they were not going to go through the exercise, but they were very happy when the headmaster came in to tell them that they can do so in their school. And so many of them, when you see them hold the card, they are so happy, all smiles, looking at the card and expressing happiness that they, for once, they can express themselves through Ghana's political system.
And that's my colleague, Erastus Asare, with some updates from the Ashanti region. Now, Maxwell Agbagba also visited Presec, Legon, and Achimota schools here in the Greater Accra region. This is what he found.
And here at Presec Legon, it is one of the centers that the registration is going to take place. So you can see behind me, the setup is ready for the registration to start. All the chairs here are arranged in accordance with the social distancing protocol. The registration officials are yet to arrive here on the ground, but there's an NDC party agent. The NDC party agents are actually waiting.
My name is Kofi Yesu, the senior house master of Presec Legon. An announcement has been made to all students concerning those who have attained the age of 18 and beyond. And the regulation is that classes will still go on. It will not disrupt our classes, but the teachers who have been detailed to be part of this exercise, they will be going from class to class. And those who have attained the required age or eligible to vote, they will come. And as you can see, we have arranged seats here for them. So the numbers that we have here are close to 100. So when they come, you sit, and when it's your turn, you move in, do your registration, and go back to class. Though it's a national exercise, but we will not allow it to disrupt classes. So the arrangement as I've given you, that is how we are going to go by. That is, you'll be in class. Classes will go on. When it's your turn to vote, register, then the teachers will bring you here. Quickly you do it and go back and continue academic work.
We have an NDC agent here with us.
Usman. Okay, so ours is to ensure that, you know, at the end of the registration period or day, we do a tally. So we have to make sure that the total number of students who will be able to register today will tally with what we are doing. So we have something we call, that's the daily daily sheets.
We are here at the new assembly hall of the Achimota School, and the school is here in the Okankwin North District.
I'm the district registration supervisor. We are registering Achimota secondary school, senior high school students. But before the students were coming, the teachers had wanted to be registered first because most of the students haven't gotten a verification document. That is to say Ghana card or a passport. So when they register, they will in turn guarantee for the students so that we can also register them.
Okay. But wouldn't that create any problems?
No, they are teachers. You can never leave them out since they are within the school. So you cannot, once the opportunity has come on their way, you must use it.
Okay. So there are some party agents here. Some of them taking this up there. Let's see if they can speak to us.
I came in not quite long, so I'm just trying to cross-check what he has already. And then I can input into my data column. And then for what we'll be looking at for, since it's the school, we're looking at maybe the students should comport themselves so that no one walk out contracting any of the COVID-19.
This is The Pulse with me, Aisha Ibrahim. We're back with more. This is The Pulse, and to the rest of our stories, have you ever heard about the canopy neem tree in Ghana? As the world battles climate change, sometimes triggered by the felling of trees, the people of Sandema in the Bolsa South district of the Upper East region have been able to guard neem trees there, were planted nearly 100 years ago to become an iconic feature of the town's landscape. Here's a report by JoyNews' Justice Baidu.
The entrance to Sandema is breathtaking. Lush green neem trees planted here in 1909 by King of Sandema then, Nab Aita Azantilo, have now blossomed into a canopy over the highway entering this town from Navrongo, all in this region.
What we were told was that the then chief, the late chief, he made people to plant the trees along the roads because most of the people used to travel on foot and people were taking care of the trees. And because of the people going through, the mahogany shade allowed them to travel during market days and non-market days, but there were no transports. So the trees have been there for so many years and people cherish the trees.
These trees today stand as this town's own iconic way of saying welcome.
Most of the time when they are teaching us to tell history about how these trees are, always amaze me that yes, it's a good to live legacy when you are not.
And that was a report by Justice Baidu. Now, the local economy of the Hohoe municipality in the Volta region is expected to witness some growth within the coming months after successful expansion of the central market. The project, which is expected to create jobs for local artisans, would also bring to an end the struggles for space in the current small space market center when completed. Fred Kwame has more in the following report.
The Hohoe Central Market was originally constructed to accommodate just about 300 traders. Fast forward 2020, there are over 1,000 traders in this small space due to rural-urban drift and population growth. The situation has forced many traders who could not find space in the market to ply their trade on the streets. The Municipal Assembly has had a tough time trying to get the traders off the streets. However, the World Bank has come to the aid of the Hohoe Central Market through its Ghana Secondary City Support Program. With an amount of 8 million Ghana cedis, the market center would see an expansion to enable it to accommodate more traders and even leave room for future use. At an event to commemorate the sword cutting ceremony for the project, the Municipal Chief Executive, Teddy Ofori, had this to say.
50 assemblies were assessed nationwide, and
25 were selected. And among the 25 nationwide, Kokoye Municipal Assembly still qualified to be part. Based on this assessment, we have qualified to benefit from this World Bank facility. This market is an international market, a market that is going to serve all people along the Eastern Corridor Road, the people from Togo, the people from Kwando, Kweve, all those areas, Nkwanta, Dambai, Jakoye. This is a big market. So to have this corporate market being raised to a city status, I think it is something we all have to celebrate.
The project, which is expected to be completed in 9 months, has been divided into 3 lots and awarded to different contractors. The market center would house 144 sheds, 106 stores, and a warehouse. The other facilities include a crèche, health, fire, and police posts.
These projects are supposed to be completed within 9 months. But I know with the workforce, and the funds are already sitting in the accounts of the assembly. So no contractor will give an excuse that there is no funds. It is not a get fund project or any other thing that you have to go to Accra before you access the money. You work and you take your money. And we will not countenance or tolerate any lazy contractor. Because even the way we execute this project is going to qualify us for another fund.
The general manager of J.A. Bainik and Company Limited, Kashni Dodu, assured of timely completion of the project.
On behalf of the contractors, we are 3 different contractors. On behalf of them, we will do a quality work, and the speed will be there, quality with efficiency, so that we'll be able to meet the target. We will consider making sure this project will be done before time, so that the place will be accessible for all the market women and men.
The chiefs and people who were elated with the project expressed their appreciation to the World Bank.
As they execute the project, they should consider our youth. We have all the artisans in Hawaii here, so they shouldn't leave us behind. We have steel benders, masons, you name it. So it's very important you involve them in your projects.
Structures are being erected at the outskirts of the market to serve as a temporary shopping center to house traders who would be evacuated to pave way for the project. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Hohwe.
Some New Patriotic Party polling station executives in the Kwapim North constituency are asking an Accra High Court for an order of injunction restraining the NPP from presenting the incumbent Member of Parliament, Amadou Kwesiama, to the Electoral Commission as the party's candidate for that constituency without convening an extraordinary delegates conference. The polling station executives represented in court by Stephen Asari Dako argue that the party disregarded its constitution requiring an extraordinary delegates conference to select a parliamentary candidate for the constituency. Maxwell Kudeko has more.
Executives aver that unless the Honorable Court intervene, their constitutional rights as delegates of the New Patriotic Party has been severely violated, is being violated and will be irreversibly violated by the party. The polling station executive represented in court by Stephen Asaridonko and 7 others argue that the party's constitution required an extraordinary delegate conference to select a parliamentary candidate for the constituency. However, the party disregarded this constitutional provision and election regulations and surreptitiously called a meeting of carefully selected members of the constituency to a private residence where they purportedly nominated and declared the incumbent Member of Parliament for the Kwapino constituency, Honorable Amadou Kwesiama, as the MPP's parliamentary candidate for the December 2020 election.
For some time now, we went for a vetting, and then as 3 contestants, we were told that 2 of them were disqualified. That is lawyer Philip Addison and then Dr. Chumesi. There's a case about 430 of the delegates. We pushed for this agenda to find out why they were disqualified by taking a petition to the party office. Unfortunately, till now as I speak, nobody has written to us or replied us. And then these people sneaked, that is the constituency and then the regional executive, they sneaked by coming to a Akropong to do an acclamation quietly in somebody's home. That was around 6 a.m. in the morning. We took about 35 of our members, and then they sneaked themselves to do this acclamation, of which I know they're supposed to go to almost every electoral area to show the PC to the delegates. This thing was not done. Nobody knew about it, and then they did it.
The Accra High Court of Justice General Jurisdiction Division 4, presided over by Her Lordship Olivia Obin, adjourned the case to August 13, 2020, because the defendant didn't make appearance in court. Counsel for the plaintiff, lawyer Raymond Banabu, hinted in court that security guards at the MPP's party headquarters has declined the bailiff entry into the party's office.
The Asin South Independent candidate Joseph Kofi Danche has been arrested by the Central Regional Police Command for allegedly defying COVID-19 safety protocols. According to information gathered by JoyNews, the parliamentary hopeful went to Asin Aroso in the Asin South constituency to monitor the voters' registration exercise, but in the process, his supporters rushed him and he decided to address them. Supporters of the Asin South MP, John Ntim Fojo, who were not pleased with the development, called for his arrest for defying the ban on political rallies. Meanwhile, supporters of Joseph Kofi Danche are also advocating for an equal arrest of the Asin South MP, who also distributed hand sanitizers and Veronica buckets to a large crowd at Asin Ekrofom on April 2020. And now the Joy ballot box will be live at 5 p.m. on the Joy News channel on Joy FM 99.7 and across the world on myjoyonline.com, as well as all our social media platforms. Remember to add the hashtag, the Joy ballot box and election headquarters.